Turf and Touchdowns podcast is back with you, talking about horse racing and talking about the Virginia Derby in particular, one of our two visits generally of the year to Colonial Downs, and off the back, Tom, of yet another winning week. Well done.
Yes, and to you, we both put up Cavalieri, who won last week in gritty fashion, maybe not as easy as we were kind of anticipating. If anyone managed to watch the video, our Turf and Touchdowns podcast, and got that 7-4, or even anything around 7-4, 13-8, 6-4, well done, because you cashed in on a good price and a good winner. This week is not as easy, I don't think, but the market has a very short price favourite again.
It does. The market has got a short price favourite, a Baffert short price favourite as well. That market will change a little bit, and the favourite will probably become a little bit shorter because John Hancock is in the betting, who did us a good turn the other week when a winning selection on the podcast, but he won't be running. He's going to go for the... Where's he going instead? He's doing something else.
Yeah, Louisiana Derby. I think Brad Cox is aiming 2 horses at that race. He obviously just didn't want to take on Rapture with John Hancock in here. And the jockey bookings that we saw in the initial entries on Monday kind of made that clear. Mike Smith on John Hancock, Flavian Pratt on Rapture, that made no sense. Now that John Hancock's been scratched, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. It was like, Flavian Pratt likes choosing the horse that's not as good. Fair enough. That's a weird one. But John Hancock will not be running here. We'll be talking about him in the near future. But the market we'll get to in a moment. If you're not subscribed, please do that because it helps you out. It helps us out as well because it will mean that you don't miss prices in the early part of the week and you'd have got 7-4 about a horse that we were very confident with last week in Cavalieri. Leave a comment down below, share it, and that's it. That's all the things you need to do.
You can whack the bell notification.
Yeah, whack the bell. It rings, apparently. Find out.
Does it?
I have no idea. This seems like something it would do. Getaway Car is 5-6 ahead of the market for the Virginia Derby. Rapture is 130. John Hancock is 7-2, but get rid of him. He's not going to be running. American Promise 11-1. 11-1 Authentic Gallop. Omaha at 11-1. 14s and bigger the remainder. Do you get hay fever at all?
I do a little bit. By the way, just before we talk more about hay fever for some reason, when you said Omaha there, I thought you were going, firstly, back to the NFL, and secondly, I thought you were just becoming Peyton Manning.
Omaha! That's it. But I bet Peyton Manning gets hay fever. There's a lot of head for hay fever there.
There is a lot of head.
Literally, we're in March. Mine started already.
Yeah, that's disastrous from you.
It's been. I didn't choose to. It's been horrific.
Who knows with you?
Yeah, so it just looks like I've been crying, but I'm just overjoyed with all the winners we've been putting up recently. Getaway Car is 5-6. Has taken an unconventional route into this contest. Irad's taken the ride. Funnily enough, he didn't want to go to Sunderland Park last time around. He won the Sunderland Park Derby, and look, he did it okay, but honestly, I'd have wanted him to do it a bit better.
Yeah, look, he's going to be part of the speed in here, but it's unlikely that he's going to completely dominate up front. American Promise is in the field as well, and he's an out-and-out front runner. Authentic Gallop, Rapture are both going to be forwardly placed. So Getaway Car is going to have some kind of pace pressure up top, though he is probably the fastest in this field. Bob Baffert's horses are generally always feared, regardless of where they run. I can't find a single Bob Baffert runner at Colonial in the history of the track. Now, I did only look back to 2008. I tried to look before that, but the records just weren't coming up. So I could be wrong here, but he definitely hasn't had a runner there in the last 15, 16 years at the minimum. So this is an interesting point when you're thinking about Getaway Car. Secondly, as you've already talked about, the schedule has been very odd with him. Going to Sunderland Park last time, it was a race where he completely overmatched the whole field, but he only scrambled in and he won by a narrow margin. So what do you want to take from that? Do you think there's a positive that he won that race, or is it a negative that he only won by such a small distance? And if you go back prior to the Sunderland Park Derby, he was matching it with some of the best 2- and 3-year-olds around. Look, he's got form with Citizen Bull and Journalism, who look really good when beating Barnes. But he was being beaten a wide margin by those horses. I just don't really know how good he is. It feels like he's a second-tier Bob Baffert runner. Obviously, finding this spot is good because he faces generally weaker horses, but he's 5-6. Short price.
Yeah, he's a horse that I can't envisage running in the Kentucky Derby, honestly. And if he does, he'll be a big number, and he'll be the sort of horse that people go, well, Bob Baffert's got one at a big price. It's like, yeah, there's a reason he's not going to win this race. But look, he's in with a chance in here for sure, and that's largely because it's not the greatest of contests. Rapture is the next one worth talking about, who is the man of Flavien Prat. He didn't choose this horse, he'd just known that John Hancock wasn't going to run. But look, the latest effort last time around was okay. In turning for home, he was in trouble. I thought he was still a bit green throughout the contest, but you had to like the way that he went through the final sort of quarter of the race. He really stretched away and won nicely.
Yeah, it was a good performance at Oaklawn. It was obviously quite a weak maiden, and when you compare it to this race, he needs to take a big step up. But on speed figures, he ran a pretty nice number, which suggests he could take that step up into stakes company. Prior to that run last time up, he ran a good second on debut behind Vassimo, who's another precocious sort for trainer Todd Pletcher. They had a duel throughout the last 4 furlongs of that race, and Vassimo just came out on top. I think Rapture is going to take a big step forward because he does still look a bit of a raw individual, but he has unlimited upside. And it wouldn't be surprising if he progressed past Getaway Car in just his third outing. I think he's a big player here.
Yeah, I completely agree. But a large part of that is the weakness and the depth or lack of depth of this contest. I'm going to throw in a curveball here because on the running order, there wasn't one. Well, he's not on there, but we have to replace John Hancock. American Promise on speed figures. I think plenty of lads are going to be going crazy about this horse. Now, he ran in the Risen Star last time round, went fifth. And when I was rewatching the race, he's got quite similar colours to Chunk of Gold. First time I watched it, I thought, oh, it's him. He's Chunk of Gold. He's shaped really well. I'm definitely going to be interested in this horse for this race. No, Chunk of Gold hasn't come out and ran again yet. But I don't like the run that this horse put in. He was close to a pace, which, I mean, wasn't crazy. The pace held up, and he was the one of the first three, even though he wasn't actually that close to the speed, but he was the one of the first three that cracked and faded. I know he put in a big figure last time around, and he was also sixth in the Southwest, but I really don't like this horse's form.
If you're finishing mid-division in the Risen Star and mid-division in the Southwest, it's likely that you're just a mid-tier 3-year-old at this stage. And yes, he's going to be part of the speed again, which could be a positive at Colonial, but we don't know that for sure considering they haven't really raced much. And maybe he will hold off some of the challenges and finish in the money. I'd be very surprised if he won. I'd actually be quite surprised if he even hit the frame, to be honest with you, especially considering the likes of Rapture and Getaway Car will be up with the pace early. If they duel, even from 4 furlongs out, let alone the whole race, then American Promise is going to be waving that white flag early doors.
Yeah, absolutely so. He's not a horse that I'm looking to get on board with at all in this, but you do have to find something for potentially third place, presuming the first two do turn up. Calling Card is on that list, who, look, the latest few efforts have been fine. His last 2 runs are coming Grade 3 company in the Lecompton and the Gotham. Maybe he could be one that steps up a touch.
He's 18-1 in this race. I think that's just way too big. I actually have him third in my ratings when you take John Hancock out of the contest because he is scratched, as we've already talked about. 18-1 just seems too big a price. The last 2 runs, he's had obvious excuses. Last time in the Gotham, it was just the worst ride I think I've ever seen from Kendrick Carmouche. He was held up at the back. He tried to make a run between horses. He got stopped. He then went to the rail, got stopped, then switched 3 wide in the home straight. And Kendrick literally didn't ask him a single question in the home straight. He just sat up. He knew the race was gone, but the horse still had plenty left in the tank and he just gave up. So you can't say that form is literal. Prior to that in the Lecomte, sloppy, wet track, horrible track, as we previewed the race and talked about in the recap the week after. They came home in glacial fractions. Most of the horses didn't handle it. I don't think Calling Card did. He was held up in that race, took a lot of kickback. Again, I'm willing to put a line through it. He's only won a maiden, an Aqueduct maiden, but he won by a wide margin in a good time. If this horse can get back to that kind of form, then I think he's a player for a place. The blinkers, which were fitted last time, we don't know if they work because Kendrick didn't give him a chance to prove that they were an aid or a negative. So I'm hoping that the blinkers will have a good effect on him, and he'll be running home from the back in a race where all the other protagonists seem to be on the front.
Yeah, he's an interesting runner, albeit he does need to up his game quite significantly in what we've seen, but he has been given rather thankless tasks last time around due to ride and also race conditions with the amount of rain that fell 2 starts ago. Anything else that you want to mention before we move into selections?
Not really. Omaha's just not good enough. Finished third in Aqueduct Stakes last time. Studley Do Right was basically a 2-year-old that's now not progressing as a 3-year-old. He'll be coming from off the pace. Authentic Gallop, one of the speed horses, but likely to get into that duel with the 2 market leaders and pay for it in the latter part of the race. Georgia Magic, definitely not good enough. Rag of the field. And Rendered Judgment, hard to really muster. much faith after what we saw in the Risen Star. So it's a contest where I think it completely lacks depth. Getaway Car is the proven quantity. He has the best form in the race. Rapture's got the unlimited upside. But if you're looking for a place, maybe look towards Calling Card.
Yeah, he's an interesting runner at a big price for sure. Do you know who Studley Do Right is?
No, I don't know.
He was like back in the day, like the anti-mafia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the mafia would go around doing their bad jobs, and then Studley Do Right would come around and he'd do it right.
Nice. Okay, I didn't know that. You learn something new every day.
Made it up. Made it up. It's a complete lie. That never happened. Dudley Do Right is a cartoon character from many years ago, so they've made it horse related and gone Studley Do Right.
Move on.
It was a good lie though, wasn't it?
It was a good lie. I did believe it, to be fair.
It was a good lie. That's one of my favorite things in life is just making up a lie and seeing if people believe it.
You're a funny guy.
Yeah, a very funny, hilarious. Some say. I'm going to go for Rapture, which I'm probably going to be involved in at some point. Look, I don't love the race. I don't think it's a very strong race whatsoever. I think Rapture is the horse that's open to the most improvement. And I just didn't like Getaway Car. When we were sort of playing the game of guess the market, I thought Getaway Car might be 6-4, 13-8, around that price. He's 5-6. I think that'll be even shorter as well, actually, the way that the betting and the market is laid out. He's 9-5 on the morning line, which is a touch more realistic as far as I'm concerned. If this horse wasn't trained by Bob Baffert, and wasn't ridden by Irad Ortiz Jr., but still coming in as a Sunderland Park Derby winner, he'll be nowhere near at odds on whatsoever. He's priced up on that reputation. Yes, he does have some nice form, but I really don't love the Californian form heading towards Colonial Downs. So I've landed on Rapture. I love the way he finished out the race last time over. His debut at Gulfstream Park, to be fair, wasn't bad. And obviously he was behind Vassimo that day, who is a horse who has gone for 1 or 2 trials so far. He still looks a nice enough horse going forward, albeit a touch on the more stamina-laden side regards to Vassimo rather than anything else. I do think Rapture's got more to come. I'll take a chance with Rapture. But like I say, Tom, last week we were both mega confident with Cavalieri. This week it's more of I think this horse will do well.
Yeah, but that's what you've got to do in races like this. If you're not convinced about the favourite who takes up a 55% market share, you've got to go for something else. Rapture, I do believe, is the horse that many people will land on, and it's kind of the right play at 4-1. I think that's a fair price. By the time of the race, I think he'll probably be 9-4, 2-1. So you are getting value there. But I will go with the outsider in Calling Card. As I say, I think he's got a good each way chance. And I really like the jockey change, which I didn't mention earlier. Louis Mercado first up instead of Kendrick Carmouche, a bit more of an aggressive pilot on a horse that lacks early speed. So yeah, I'll go left field here, hoping to grab some place money. You're going for the win option. Hopefully one of us, or maybe both of us, can get a return.
I fully respect Ray Handel in this race, just running Georgia Magic. Even though you've not run a speed figure over 58 yet. You're like,
yeah, just no chance. The horse will literally be 66 or 100-1.
Well, that's it. On the morning line, it's 30-1. I get that's like the biggest price they put in. Just put him in at 100-1. Like, what are you going to do? Like, clearly that's the way it's going to go. But good luck to Georgia Magic. They are the selections for the Virginia Derby this week. One day I'm going to look ahead and see what's coming, because I have no idea what the calendar is.
I'll get you out of the hole yet again. Next week is the Louisiana Derby, the race that John Hancock will be running in. So we can talk more about him and more about that Kentucky Derby prep. It's a very good Saturday, next Saturday. Fairgrounds dominating. Louisiana Derby, Fairground Oaks, a couple of other graded races. So it should be good fun. And also, I think maybe not next week, but the week after, we'll be doing NFL again. There have been a lot of free agency moves. Don't spoil it by saying any names. People will have to tune into that video.
Studley Do Right. Gone to Jacksonville. He's gone to right the wrongs. They said that Studley Do Right. They signed Gabe Davis. Studley Do Right comes in and he's better. Right, that's us done for this show. We'll be back next week with another horse racing podcast, hopefully celebrating yet another winner. We've had a fantastic start to the year of 2025. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe down below, leave a comment, do all your stuff. That very much helps us out, and it's good to hear from you guys as well. But until next week, stay safe, look after one another.